What are the best ways to get clients and get leads online for your business? And of all the different options, the seemingly millions of options that are out there, how do you know what the best option is for you and your business with the stage you're at? That's exactly what I'm going to cover today. And I'm really excited for this because this is a big problem, right? Like, we are inundated with options. I find so many business owners, myself included, can just get analysis paralysis with all the different ways there are to get clients online. Every time you open up your Facebook news feed, it's like you see someone else crushing it with this method or this method or this method, posting about their results, right? And with all the options, like if you just Google right now, hey, how do I get clients or how do I get leads online? If you just Google that, you'll find articles that say like, oh, best 30 ways to get clients or top 50 methods to get clients. And you don't need 50, you just need one. If you just master one channel, you can get your business to 7 figures, right? You don't need to do a million things. You just need to do one thing really, really well, and that can take you pretty far. But how do you know what the one thing is? How do you know which channel you should really double down on and focus on to get leads for your business? So that's what we're gonna cover today. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break down what all the options are so that you know what the playing field is and what different choices you have. Then I'm gonna cover the pros and cons of each option. And then I'm also gonna cover what I recommend for different stages in your business. Because when you're starting a business versus scaling a business, there's different things you should focus on. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly, okay, here's where I'm at now and here's exactly what I should focus on to get leads for my business. And also at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you a masterclass, a free masterclass for one of my favorite channels that I'm gonna be discussing in today's video. So stick around to the end of the video and I'm gonna give you a full-length masterclass showing you in depth how to implement this one channel that I'm gonna be covering today. Cool, now real quick, before we get in, make sure you like and also subscribe to this channel. I post one new video every week about B2B lead gen, client acquisition, and sales. So definitely you'll enjoy the content. If you're new here, definitely subscribe and enjoy the rest of the videos I have on my channel. I post really, really in-depth stuff, a lot of stuff that I've been working on behind the scenes with my clients and now just sharing for the first time ever. So anyways, let's cover what the different channels are. Now, you might know that there's a lot of different channels, right? There's at least like 30 or 40 different kind of platforms or methods you can use to get clients or get leads. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna help you break them down into just 3 buckets. So just to simplify this whole mess, because again, it's like there's so much information overload, right? There's so many different methods. There's SEO, there's PR, there's, oh, should I go to events? Should I host events? Should I host webinars? Should I run Facebook ads? Should I do cold email? Should I message people on LinkedIn? Should I post on LinkedIn? The options are endless, right? I find it helpful to just break this down into different buckets. And there's really only 3 methods, right? So there's inbound, there's paid ads, and then there's outbound. So out of every possible marketing channel or method you could think of, they all fit into each one of these 3 buckets. So I find it easier just to kind of categorize things and just group it this way, because then you can know, okay, at least like my starting point is I just got to decide which one of these 3 should I focus on first. And then from there, you could decide like which specific channel or tactic within the 3 buckets, paid ads, inbound, or outbound should you focus on. But at least first, let's group them together and find out like which direction you want to go. So paid ads is when you're basically paying money to an ad platform or a network. It doesn't have to be a network or a platform. It could also be like if you could pay like a podcast to sponsor you and have like a 30-second ad, or a YouTube channel like this, or even like an event. You can pay an event to sponsor you, put your logo up on their marketing materials. So essentially paid ads is where you're paying money just to get a lot of forced attention and eyeballs on your business. For a lot of people, that's Facebook ads, Google ads, those are the most common ones, but it could be anything. You can run Twitter ads, LinkedIn ads, YouTube ads. You can even go offline, and pay for a TV ad or a local radio ad. But the whole point is paid ads is where you're paying money to someone else or some other organization that already has an audience. They've already gathered all of your prospects in one place, and they're just gonna show you for a short amount of time, right? So this is kind of where you get like a shortcut to a lot of results, because you're kind of paying money to skip the line. Rather than having to build your own audience, you're just getting instantly shown to a lot of people in your target audience, right? So that's what paid ads is. Now, what is inbound? Inbound is where you're building your own audience, and this could be on any channel, right? So, posting on LinkedIn, posting on Twitter, posting on YouTube, starting a podcast, right? Hosting events, getting people to come to events for you, right? Hosting free workshops, whatever it is. Hosting a webinar, whatever it is. PR as well. So the whole point is inbound is where you're essentially putting content out there and you're waiting for people to come to you. So you're putting some sort of content or free value out there and you're waiting for people to come to you, and the prospect starts the conversation, right? They reach out to you. Hey, I really like this. Let's book a call, right? Doesn't matter what the channel is. Inbound is just essentially where you're putting stuff out there. That's why they call it inbound, right? Because you're getting leads inbound. They're coming to you. So regardless of the channel, that's what inbound is. Now, that leaves us with one option left, which is outbound. Outbound is when you're having one-to-one conversations with people at scale. So with inbound, the prospect starts the conversation. You put content out there, you put something out there. I like to think of it almost like fishing, right? Like you're putting bait out there and just seeing who bites, right? Outbound is when you're actually just going right there and you're starting the conversation rather than them starting the conversation with you. This is where you could be cold emailing businesses, you could be DMing people on social media, or you could even be calling people, or even going door to door. Like when I first started my career in construction 10 years ago, I built a construction business. I was going door to door asking people if they wanted work done in their house. And that was outbound, right? That was just basically me going to them and starting the conversation. Now we can do it a lot easier. Now we can send emails or DMs, so it's a lot easier now. But nonetheless, that's what outbound is. It's having these one-to-one conversations at scale and having that direct outreach to your prospects. Now, with that said, let's cover what the differences are between the channels, the pros and cons of each, and a couple tips for each as well. So first, paid ads. The benefit of paid ads, the pro of it, is that you can grow the most. Like, it's the number one way just to grow a lot in a short amount of time. And it's mainly because you're kind of like cheating, right? Like you're kind of paying money just to get shown to a lot of people. You could place an ad that could get you shown to 1 million people overnight if you have the budget for it. It's almost like where you kind of skip the line. Like instead of having to reach out to people through cold outreach, instead of having to build an audience and post content over time until that builds up to a sizable audience, you're basically just saying like, okay, here's my money. I'm gonna let my money do the work for me. And I'm just gonna go to someone else who already has the audience and they're gonna show my business to them, right? So it's kind of the fastest way to get a lot of growth in a short amount of time. It's also really, really scalable because you can spend a lot of money on Facebook ads, right? Before it really taps out. I know some people that spend 30 to 50 grand a day on Facebook ads to get leads and get sales for their business, right? And even if you do tap out one channel, you can go to another. You can go to YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, whatever it is. You can eventually go to offline ads or pay for like podcast sponsorships. So paid ads is really, really scalable. Like if you want to build an 8-figure company, I don't know anyone who has an 8-figure company that doesn't do some sort of paid advertising, right? So very, very scalable. It can really take you to the moon. Another benefit of paid ads is that it can really be pretty automated, pretty low effort. So compared to other methods like inbound and outbound, where you're mostly leveraging your time rather than your money, paid ads is where you're leveraging your money instead of your time. So you don't have to spend a lot of time. I mean, yes, in the beginning, you want to spend time to learn it and you have to like set up your funnel, set up your ads, all that. But once ads are running and they're making you sales, they kind of just run, right? Like, yeah, of course you need to check on them, optimize them, launch new tests. But compared to other methods, it's the method that can be the most automated because when an ad campaign is working, it's just bringing you sales, right? It just works, right? Compared to other methods, it's the least effort, I would say. And because essentially you're leveraging your capital and your money rather than your time, right? Now, the cons, what are the downsides of paid ads? First, the cost. Out of all the different 3 channels, it is the most capital intensive, right? You need a minimum of $100 a day just to get started. I mean, you can, of course, the channels will take less money from you. You could spend like $10 a day and they'll still run. But really, for it to really start to work and get traction, you need like $100 a day to be spending on ads. And that's $3 grand a month, right? And that doesn't mean that you're gonna make $3 grand back right away. We started Facebook ads for revenue boost last summer and we lost 30 grand, right? We spent 30 grand before we really started to see sales come back in. So like once you launch an ad campaign, you still have to test a lot of things and it could be a lot of time before you're actually making money and profiting on it, right? So it's the most upfront capital investment. And if you have a really minimal budget, then I wouldn't start with paid ads. So that's pretty much the con to it, is it costs a lot. But again, once it's working, once it's profitable, then it's pretty much just, $1 for $3 out, right? But to get to that point, it's a lot of money up front. The other downside of paid ads is that the results are very short-lived, right? It's not so much of a long-term play because let's say that you spent 10 grand on Facebook ads this month and you got 50 grand back. Well, that would be amazing. But to get 50 grand back the next month, you have to spend another 10 grand and the next month and the next month, right? So it's the second that you stop paying for your ads, the second that you pause your campaigns or turn it off, all the lead flow stops. It's almost like you're just back at zero. So it's kind of like this thing that you have to just keep feeding and feeding and feeding with more money. So it's only, and that's okay, right? Like it's, as long as you know what it is and what you're getting into, that's fine. As long as you know what purpose it serves. But the main thing is that paid ads is just a short-lived result. So you have to know like that's what it is. If you want something where you really build an asset that kind of benefits you forever, that's not really paid ads, right? Because again, the second you stop paying, the second you stop getting sales that come in, right? So that's the other downside of it. The other downside is that you're kind of at the mercy of these platforms. If you've ever run Facebook ads before, or just any kind of ad platform, you know that it's kind of like a pain in the butt, right? Like Facebook, especially Facebook, they change their algorithm constantly, right? You could have a campaign that's working well one day, and then the next day, all of a sudden, it just tanks because they made some change to their algorithm, right? So you're kind of at the mercy of these ad networks, and we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes with them. So that's kind of the downside of it, is you don't really have a lot of control over the process. But anyways, overall, a great channel, and it's been really, really useful to my business. Now, some tips I'll give you for paid ads is, first I'd say, my biggest tip here would just be hire an agency, hire an expert to do it for you, because with paid ads, you already have to have a good budget set aside to run the ads. Although you might think like, oh, I could save some money if I do it myself, you might not, because if you do it wrong, as a beginner, you make some mistakes and the ad campaigns don't work, well, then you lose a lot of money, right? So because of the fact that you're playing with your money here and you want to get the best ROI or return on your investment, I find it's better just to hire an expert or hire an agency. Because at the end of the day, if you hire an agency or an expert, someone who's really a professional with paid ads, in theory, they shouldn't be a cost to you. They should pretty much pay for themselves, because if they're managing your $10,000 a month in ad spend and they get 40 grand back for you, which is maybe more than you would have got from yourself if you did it yourself because you're a beginner at it, well, then they just pretty much pay for their fee many times over, right? So in theory, it shouldn't cost you money. The main thing is getting the most results with paid ads because you're spending money on it. So my recommendation is just hire an expert for it, honestly, if you're going to do it. Unless you really want to learn it yourself. If you really want to learn the skills of media buying and paid ads, then that's a different story. But if that's not the case, I would just say my best recommendation would be hire an expert. If you're going to do it yourself, my biggest tip would be keep a really, really simple ad and simple funnel. Simple text-based ads in the beginning before you do anything crazy with videos, and keep a very simple, minimal funnel, right? Don't have this super complicated, like 20-step funnel with email follow-up and like events and webinars and all this stuff. Just keep it really, really simple because at the beginning, what you're trying to test is your core message. You're trying to test, does my offer work and does my message work, right? And what I've seen a lot of marketers do is they make all these different steps to their funnels and try all these complicated strategies, and it just creates all these variables, and it kind of distracts you from actually testing first the core message and the core offer. Because if you don't really get the message right, if you don't really get the targeting right, if you don't get the offer right, then none of these other steps or none of these other like fancy funnels are going to matter, right? So keep it simple, keep it minimal, just keep it really, really bare, and just make sure you can get the message down, the offer down, the targeting down, and then you can try more fancy, complicated stuff later. That would be my tip if you are doing it yourself, but again, my recommendation is hire an expert for this. Now, when's the right time to launch paid ads? Paid ads is better for when you're actually scaling, right? I would never start a new business and then start paying for ads day one. And the reason is because when you start a new business, or let's say you have a business, but you're launching like a new offer, a new product, you don't really know what you're doing. You don't really know what the right target market is. You don't know what the right messaging is that's going to work. You don't know what the right offer is, right? You don't want to be like walking into paid ads and spending a lot of money when you're not really, really clear on the foundations of your business or your offer. So I find it's better to really get all that clear first with other channels like outbound, really get my message down, get my targeting down, know who my ideal client is. And then once I kind of have figured out my business and figured out all those components, then go for paid ads to, speed it up and scale it up, right? So paid ads is better in my opinion for when you're already scaling, when you already have other channels bringing in you leads, because that means that you've kind of figured out like what works, what message works, what niche works, all of that, right? And now just shorten the process and mean that you won't waste as much money in the beginning while you're trying to get your paid ads to work. Because again, if you walk in blind with like, you're not clear on what message works, you're not clear on what ads work, you're not clear on who your ideal client is, then you're going to just be like flying blind and it's wasting a lot of money for months and months on paid ads trying to figure that out when you could have figured that out already. So if you wait for paid ads for when you're already scaling, when you've already figured out like other marketing channels that work, you can take the learnings from those other marketing channels, take the same kind of messaging that works over there, right? Look back at your social media, see what the best performing posts were, for example. Take the learnings from the other channels and then put those onto paid ads and it'll be a lot easier, right? So I recommend it for scaling, A, because it's capital intensive, and B, because of the other thing I mentioned, which is that you can kind of get the learnings about your business from the other channels and then apply those to paid ads. And then you'll have a lot more success early on, right? Rather than have to be so much of like a guessing game. So that'd be my recommendation for paid ads. And next channel we'll talk about is inbound. So what are the pros and cons of inbound? So first, I would say the benefit to inbound is that, first of all, besides getting clients, it helps your business in so many other ways. Building an audience, building a personal brand, building a company brand has opened up a lot of doors for me. Last month I got to fly to Phu Quoc in Vietnam, this private mastermind on an island where I got to speak to 300 entrepreneurs and do a masterclass on cold email. That was really cool, and that opportunity came because someone was following me, right? The guy that owned the events found my content online, really liked it, and wanted me to speak at his event. So you get like speaking events, PR opportunities. I got featured on the Digital Marketer podcast recently, which was really cool. Then they invited me back to write on their blog. So I would say compared to the other channels like paid ads or outbound, inbound is the one channel where it helps your business holistically more than just getting leads and making money, right? It builds your brand. It builds you as an authority in your space, right? When a client looks you up, like when someone looks you up before a sales call and they see that you have a lot of followers and then you post everywhere, they assume you're legit, right? Like the trust objection is gone. So it makes sales easier as well. It makes the sales process easier when you get leads from inbound. So builds you as an authority in your space, builds your brand, and gives you other cool opportunities like speaking events, partnerships, all that fun stuff. So that's a cool benefit of inbound. Another benefit of inbound is that this is pretty much the channel where you get the highest quality leads from compared to anything else I've done. And I've tried everything, right? Like everything I'm sharing in this video has come from my last 10 years of being in the trenches, building 3 businesses, a construction business, a marketing business, and a consulting business. And through my consulting business, I've helped 100 other entrepreneurs, just under 100, build their company and build their acquisition system. So I've really learned from them like what works and what doesn't, and what they've tried and what's blowing up, what's not, and why not, right? So all this I'm sharing today is just from all of my experience. From this, I found that from everything, the highest quality leads, the prospects that are the easiest to sell and the easiest to work with, generally come from inbound. They come from content, because think about it. If someone's binging your content, right? They're reading your blog, reading your newsletter, watching your YouTube channel, whatever it is. First of all, that means that they already believe in the process that you're selling, right? So let's say that you offer email marketing as a service, and a prospect is reading all of your social media posts and videos about email marketing. Well, that means that they already believe in email marketing. You don't need to sell them on email marketing because they are already taking the time to learn it and figure out like how it works. So the nice thing about inbound is that people that are coming to you, they already believe in the method or the vehicle or the thing that you sell. You don't have to convince them on that. You just have to convince them on why you're the best person to help them with it, right? So that's the cool thing about inbound. You're getting people that already have a high intent. They're already interested in the subject of what you sell, and they're already taking their time and effort to learning it. Like they're already investing time into it. The other thing too is that when someone can spend 5 or 10 hours consuming your content before they meet with you, the trust is through the roof, right? They already feel like they know you, they like you, and they trust you, and they've already spent that time with you virtually, right? So the trust is through the roof, and you're not gonna get compared so much to competitors. You're not gonna get beaten up on price. When someone consumes my content, like when someone's listened to my channel or my podcast, or they've been in my Facebook group for a while, when they hop on a call with us, like they're ready to buy, right? It's usually just about the price at that point, but it's not about are we the right person for them, because they've already decided before meeting with us that we are the right company for them, which is really cool. So with inbound, you get the highest quality leads. The other benefit of inbound and building an audience is that it benefits you forever. Right now, I run Revenue Boost, which is a B2B lead generation and sales consulting company. And let's say that in a couple of years, I'm doing something different, right? Well, all the audience I built up, all the following I built up in my personal brand from building Revenue Boost and posting every day throughout the process, I would take that to the next thing, right? So the audience that I've built over the last couple of years, that's going to follow me to everything, right? And, if I launch another business, let's say 5 years from now, I could promote that to all of my followers who've been following me from these last few years of me building an audience and doing inbound marketing, right? I'd still have my email list. I still have my followers on social media, right? I still have my network. So inbound is that one method where you really build an asset that serves you forever, because when you have an audience, when you have people that follow you and they like you for what you do and they see you as the expert, well, then they'll take your word on the next thing, right? If you sell something else, launch a new product, launch a new offer, they'll just be the first people to buy it. So it's pretty cool because you know that anytime you launch something new, you know that you have a group of people that are already willing to buy it and they already trust you, right? So that's pretty cool. Like your audience stays with you for the rest of your life, the rest of your career. And that's one of the biggest benefits to building a personal brand, I'd say. Doing inbound marketing, putting content out there, sharing expertise, you build this asset, you build this audience that just basically benefits you forever and follows you for whatever you do. Related to that, inbound is also somewhat passive. I mean, it's a lot of work to create content and build an audience, but if you were to take a few weeks off, you would still get leads from your content. So compared to paid ads, where like if you stop paying for ads 1 month, all of the lead flow gets shut off. Inbound is different. Like I built an audience, right? I have a huge Facebook group, LinkedIn following, a podcast, top 3% podcast in my niche, and now we just started the YouTube channel. So I built an audience on all these different platforms. And yes, although it's in my best interest to keep posting every week and keep building that audience further, if I took a few weeks off from posting, I would still have people that are seeing my past content, reaching out, booking calls with my team. So inbound is really cool because it's somewhat passive. Not in the beginning, right? In the beginning, it's a lot of work. But once you have an audience built up that follows you, there's an element of it being passive, right? Yes, you still want to keep posting to keep growing, but even if you aren't posting, all the past content you've put out there is still doing its work. I have people that reach out to me and they book a call with my sales team from a video I put out like 2 years ago, right? That's crazy, right? Effort I put in 2 years ago that is still paying for itself. So that's pretty cool. Now the downside, what are the cons of inbound marketing? First, that it takes the most time. I would say this is the one where you have to be the most patient. This is where you have the most delayed gratification, right? Because paid ads and then outbound will show you results earlier. Inbound is where you could be putting in time for making content for months and months and months before you even see the first lead or the first sale come back. So this is the one that really takes patience. Don't start doing inbound marketing unless you're really committed to it for the long term. It's not something that you just try for a month and then stop doing it. Like you have to commit to it for like years. Not saying that it takes you years to get results, but you have to have that long-term mindset if you're going to be building an audience, because the whole idea is that you keep building it slowly, it starts to grow and pay for itself more. So yeah, it takes the most time. So if you're like, hey, I need a client tomorrow, then inbound marketing is not really going to be the best bet for you, right? Other cons to inbound is that it's not so predictable. Even if you have a huge following, you could put out a post and it just might not get a lot of reach, right? Or it just might not get anyone reaching out to you. So it's not so predictable compared to like once you have paid ads running or once you have cold emails or outbound running and you have a campaign that's working, you know that it's going to bring you like X number of leads next week. With inbound, it doesn't really happen. Like it could be really up and down. So it's not so predictable because again, you're just putting content out there hoping that it resonates and that people like it and want to work with you, right? But you're not always right about that. There's a lot of posts that I thought that would have done really well that didn't, and vice versa. So it's not very predictable, and also you're subject to algorithm changes where like Facebook or other channels can just limit your reach all of a sudden. So that happens too. But anyways, yeah, that's the downside of it, is that it's not very predictable compared to the other two channels. And last thing is it's not so targeted, right? It's probably the least targeted because again, you're putting content out there and whoever likes that content, whoever comes back, that's who you get. And although you can be strategic around it and you can talk about certain topics that will be relevant to certain markets or to your ideal client, still, you're not really in control of actually who sees your post. So it's not really very targeted, which is one of the other downsides. But anyways, all in all, a great channel, and I definitely recommend doing it. As far as when you should do it, what is the right stage of your business to do this? I would say inbound is great to do like all the time, right? Like as soon as you can start making content, do it. But I would say I wouldn't do it as your first channel and put all your eggs into that basket. So if you're not doing any lead generation now and you get most of your business from referrals or networking and you're thinking like, hey, what's the first channel I should start with? You could start doing some inbound and posting, but I wouldn't make it your main focus from the start because again, it takes a long time before you actually are building up an audience, getting noticed and getting consistent business from that. So you could kind of do it in the background, but if you're looking for a channel to get leads like tomorrow, get clients tomorrow, and you need to kind of build your acquisition system from scratch, I would recommend starting with one of the others, mainly outbound, which we'll talk about next. Inbound takes a while to get up and running. So great channel, start doing it as soon as you can, but just know that it'll be a little bit of time before you actually are getting consistent business from it. Just remember it's a long-term game. Now, here's a couple quick pro tips for inbound. First, focus on genuinely helping people solve their problems. And I know this sounds cliche, but I mean it. Like, okay, so I've had this happen a lot. There's been a lot of times in my content creation journey where I've started to feel like I'm just posting because I want likes and comments and leads from it, right? And I've started to realize like, okay, it's just me being selfish. Or I'm just writing this thing or making this video because I want to get so many leads from it or whatever, right? And although of course like that's the end goal, when you're actually creating the content, you want to have the intention of just making the thing as valuable as possible and have the mindset of service. So yes, like at the macro, like of course the point of content marketing, inbound marketing, is to get business and to get leads and followers and sales and all of that. In the moment when you're creating content, you got to forget about that and just really focus on making something valuable. Because the only reason that someone would like or comment or follow you or book a call with you or buy your thing is because you created something that was really, really valuable for them, right? So when you're actually in the mode of creating the content, forget about your selfish goals and just really, really focus on how can I make this super valuable? How can I genuinely help the person who's reading this? And if you create things with that spirit, it's going to be a lot better. That's probably my biggest tip for you because it's really easy to fall into the trap of creating for you rather than creating for the other person. And just think about the customer journey. Think about all the steps that someone goes through to solve the problem that you help solve, and just create content for each of those problems on the customer journey. Another pro tip about inbound marketing is don't over promote, right? I recommend at least 80% of your content is really just about giving free value, teaching, sharing, inspiring, whatever it is. 20% max should be about promoting, your offers, your products, your services. Because the more you promote, the more the people are just going to be like, okay, I don't want to watch this. People don't go on social media to look at ads. So like, yes, they expect that you're going to promote every so often, but if you overdo it, people are just going to be kind of turned off from it. They see enough ads in their newsfeed anyway. So keep a good balance of giving versus taking, posting free value versus promoting. Because in the beginning, you still got to really build an audience and build a brand. And you're better off giving more free value and doing less promoting. Like honestly, I wouldn't even promote anything in the beginning. I think while you're building your audience in the beginning, just keep it fully on giving, because when you have content that's based on giving and giving free value, that's what gets you more followers. Like when you promote, you don't really get followers from that. It's almost like you're kind of withdrawing from your audience. So in the beginning, I would recommend just leaning heavily on just giving free value and not promoting, and then build up that audience. And then every so often you can start to promote and do that more and more. But I would shift that ratio much farther down in the beginning and just be like 100% value giving and wait a little bit so you have an audience before you promote. And then over time you could promote a little bit more, but I recommend no more than like 20% or 1 in 5 posts is promotional. Best thing is you promote somewhere else, right? Best thing is you use content or use inbound marketing to build an email list and to also like have people that you can DM. And then you can sell in the DMs or you can sell on your email list. You can blast out your offer through an email. You can reach out to your followers or have an appointment set or reach out to your followers and DM them. That's the best case scenario, is if you can monetize your audience like that. That way that all of the content people see, it's just free value giving, building a lot of goodwill and building a lot of growth in audience that way, right? So that's really the best case scenario, is if you focus on selling through other channels, but you use inbound marketing to get people in and collect their information, right? Now let's talk about the last channel, and this is my favorite, outbound. What outbound is, this is where you're reaching out to people one-to-one, like we talked about earlier. You could send emails to your prospects, you could DM them on social media, you could call them, whatever it is, but this is where you're actually reaching people directly. And benefits of outbound is, first of all, it is the most cost-effective method. We do all these different channels that are revenue boost. Everything I've explained today, we do. And consistently, the most profitable method for us is outbound. That's where we get the most money back for the least, time and money spent. Super cost effective because, first of all, it's virtually free. Yes, there's tools you can use to automate it, which cost a little bit of money. But even if you are using the tools that make it easier, then you're only spending a few $100 a month max, right? You don't even need it. You can start out completely for free. Tools just make it easier and they help you kind of achieve more scale. But you can do it completely for free with no software, just by emailing people, DMing them, calling them. So outbound is super, super cost effective, which is great. You could literally start a business with $0 and start getting clients just by cold outreach, right? So that's awesome about it. Also, it is the most targeted method. If you really want to start working with more of your ideal clients, like let's say you have kind of clients from all over and they're kind of mixed and they don't all really represent who your most true ideal client is, outbound is going to be the number one way for you to really laser in and get those ideal clients, right? Because essentially with outbound, you're choosing who comes through your funnel. You're choosing who you reach out to. You would get a list of like 1,000 business owners, right, that fit your criteria, and you kind of curate this list of dream clients, and then you reach out to them one by one. So it is the most targeted method. And if you're in a niche, if you're in an industry that, like let's say whoever you sell to, it's a really small market. I know some of you watching this, you might have a really, really small, narrow target audience, and there's not a lot of people you can sell to. If that's the case, outbound is going to be your best bet because you can reach out to literally every single person in that niche. So very, very targeted, very beneficial. Another benefit is it's very quick to show results. A lot of times my clients and I, we'll launch campaigns and within the first week or two, we're already getting leads and booked calls, right? So it's a direct response marketing method. That's what it is. You're sending a message to someone with your offer and one out of every, 100 will respond back, hey, I'm interested, I want this, right? It's very direct, very quick to show results. It's not like inbound where you're building an audience that takes time. It's just a very direct, here's my offer, here's what it is, and let's meet about it. Because it's just direct response method by nature, it's very quick to show results, similar to paid ads, but even quicker because with paid ads, you still need to kind of optimize for the algorithm and all that. So quick to show results. And also another benefit of outbound is it is the simplest to start with. So it requires the least amount of like skills to learn. You really need to learn just how to write copy and also how the tech works, like how to actually find people online and get their contact information. But other than that, that's really it, right? Because all you're doing is writing a cold email and sending it to people and doing it over and over and over again. The only really hard skill there is copywriting. But with other channels like inbound, you have to learn about copy, you have to learn about creative, design, video, all of that, right? If you're building an audience, posting on social media, you gotta learn about the different social media channels and how their algorithms work. With paid ads, there's even more play, like so much data analysis that comes into play. With the other channels, there's more to learn, and it's just a little bit more complex. Outbound is the simplest, most minimal method to start with, and there's the least skills to learn, which means it's faster to get good at it. So really, really awesome method for that reason. Downside of outbound is that you don't build the know, like, and trust factor. With inbound, someone's following you, consuming your content, they really start to trust you, and by the time they have a call with you, they already want to work with you. With paid ads, you can have someone watch a video first or, sit through a webinar before they book a call with you, right? So you can kind of do the same thing with paid ads. But with outbound, you're reaching out to a stranger, they've never heard of you, and they don't have that know, like, and trust factor. So these leads can come in a little bit colder, but you can also mitigate that. You could send an email sequence where someone watches like a demo video before the call with you. So there's other things you can do to solve that. But that is one of the downsides, that they're pretty cold leads. The other thing is that it takes time. So although it's free to do, it takes time to reach out to people, DM them, email them, call them. The nice thing is you can automate it though, right? So you can use tools like instantly.ai, and you can actually have tools that send out emails on your behalf, and you don't have to actually be the one reaching out one by one, sending messages manually. But if you are doing that, it does take a good bit of time. So just be aware of that it is going to be time consuming, but it will be well worth the effort. And if you want to eliminate the time spent, then you just learn how to automate it using the different tools online, which make it pretty easy. Now, what is the right stage for outbound? I would say definitely when you're getting started. So if you're just thinking like, okay, I want to build my acquisition system, I want to start getting leads, what's the first method I should use? I'd recommend outbound, mainly because again, it's the quickest to show results, it's super cost effective, and it's really simple. There's not a lot of moving parts to it compared to other channels, so you can kind of learn it, get good at it quicker. So that's what I recommend starting with. And some quick pro tips for outbound is first, if you're B2B, if you're selling to business owners, then I recommend starting with cold emails. Out of all the channels, cold email would be the best bet to start with because no matter what niche you're in, every business owner has an email and they check it pretty much every day, right? I check my email every day. So if you're looking at like which channel should I use for outbound, cold email would be my best place to start. Also really, really scalable and just really, really easy to kind of use and get the hang of, right? Another tip would be offer free value. You don't need to reach out to everyone and say, hey, here's my offer, let's get on a call. Offer them free value, offer them a lead magnet. And we have another video I'll put in the description. I made a video recently on how to create the perfect lead magnet for your agency and some strategies that we've used for lead magnets and cold outreach that have worked really well. So you want to watch that video to learn how to actually create your lead magnet, what good ones are, then check that out. But anyways, give free value because you'll stand out because everyone that's reaching out to your prospects through DM, through email, through cold call is always asking them to hop on a call. So if you say, hey, I just want to give you this free thing, you're removing so much of the friction and they're going to be so much more likely to say yes to that because they're getting free value and they don't need to commit to having a meeting with you. So offer them something free. That's going to be really, really helpful. Like that's one of the biggest levers you can pull in your cold email is find a lead magnet that works because everyone likes free value. And it's a great way to just get conversation started, which you could then move to a call or hear about your offer next. That'd be my recommendation is figure out a lead magnet that works for you. You can test 3 to 5 lead magnets to just see through trial and error what people are responding to the most, right? You can have 5 different lead magnet ideas, email 100 business owners with each and just see, okay, out of each group of 100, where did I get the most responses? Okay, cool. I'm going to focus on that more. So it's simple as that. Another tip would be hire a VA to help you because most of the stuff with cold outreach is just kind of like tedious, right? Like scraping lists, getting contact information, reaching out to people. You can have a VA do all of that for you for like $4 an hour, $5 an hour. You go on Fiverr, Upwork, and find a VA to do this for you. Do the copy yourself. That's like the high skill work. But outside of the copywriting, I'd recommend hiring a VA to help you with all the legwork because mostly it's pretty simple and just kind of time consuming stuff. So those would be my biggest pro tips for outbound. And in just a few minutes when the video ends, I'm going to link you to a masterclass where I did a 3-hour masterclass on cold outreach in depth, showing you step-by-step how to get your campaigns launched. So at the end of this video and also in the link below in the description, I'll have the video for that. Now, what would be the recommended order of operations? Just to summarize, so we talked about the 3 channels. We talked about paid ads, inbound, outbound, pros and cons of each, some quick pro tips. What is the recommended order? This is the 3-phase acquisition process I go through with all my consulting clients at Revenue Boost. I would say first you focus on outbound, and then you focus on inbound, then you focus on paid last, right? So that's step 1, step 2, step 3. Outbound first for the reasons I just mentioned, right? Most cost effective, quickest to show results, least moving parts, simplest to learn and get good at. Then once outbound is working, once you're getting at least like 5, 10 booked calls a week from outbound, then start working on your inbound. Start building an audience, start posting content. Because again, you know that building an audience and inbound marketing is going to take a lot of time to really show results, right? But at least if you do outbound first, you have a consistent stream of leads and business coming in while you can slowly build your audience and build a personal brand, right? And then thirdly, do paid ads last, because then you can take all the profit you've made from getting clients from outbound and from your inbound, and then pretty much just reinvest that into paid ads. So you don't have to really pad a pocket and lose a bunch of money, because you can just kind of reinvest your profits into this new channel of paid ads. And again, you don't really need paid ads until later. Like we mentioned earlier, if you use paid ads, if you start paying for Facebook ads or whatever, after you've already had success on other channels, like outbound, then you already know, like you can go and say, hey, on my outbound campaigns, I know that this specific email works the best. Well, let me just try putting that in an ad. And we've seen that work over and over and over again. So when you do paid ads as phase 3, and start with the other channels first, you've already figured out a lot of like what message resonates with your market, what offer works, what lead magnet works. And then it's a lot easier to have success with paid ads, right? Because you're kind of not really starting from a blank slate. So that's what I would recommend. That's the process I went through with my own business when I built Revenue Boost. We did outbound first, then I built the audience, and then now we started doing paid ads this past year, right? And it's the same process we go through with all of our clients. So definitely recommend that as the order of operations. So if you're starting out from 0, I would start with just outbound. And if you're somewhere along the journey, then start with the other 2 in the order I just shared. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. If you want other videos on breaking down those channels in further detail and like the how-to, definitely check out my channel or recent episodes in the podcast and we go more into depth on some of those other ones. I did a masterclass recently. We had about 500 agency owners come and learn about my cold outreach process, my 3-step system for getting clients with cold email and LinkedIn. So if you're like, okay, cool, I want to learn outbounds, I have a really awesome masterclass on that covering targeting, copy, different tools we use, case studies from clients and all of that. So watch that video if you want, and you can learn, how to get your outbound campaign started right away. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know how you liked it, and I'll see you on the next one.